And we're back live. We're sitting down for the first time. We were just talking about this at this whole off, getting a little break with Gab. How are you
Hi,
doing?
Emma. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You're asking me as well. That's great.
Of
First
course.
guest. I'm doing great. It's been amazing. Like, just started for today and yeah, fresh, ready to go.
Off to a good start.
Off to a good start, and looking forward to talk about your work. Well, just a little reminder for everyone watching, we're live on behance.net/live and on YouTube on the Adobe UK channel. So ask your questions to Gab in the next 25 minutes so we can have a nice chat. So I'll let you introduce yourself to everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that great intro. So my name is Gab Bois. I am a multidisciplinary artist based in Montreal, Canada. Born and based in Montreal, Canada, actually.
Are you French speaking as
Yes,
well?
I
Okay,
am.
great.
Yeah. Oui, oui. Yeah, I'm here at OFF to do a little chat about my practice, which is primarily based on photography, but also on object design, installation, video, and just trying to get a foot in as many doors as possible. Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice. Have you met anyone you know? Are you traveling with people and friends, or how is it here at OFF?
Yeah, I had the privilege of being at OFF Mexico last October.
Cool.
So there's a few people that are here again.
Nice.
And there's also a design studio from Montreal who I believe you chatted with yesterday called Baya.
Yeah.
So I was familiar with them and their work, so it was nice to meet in person. And just, of course, just by being here, it's such a great place to connect with people and just meet a bunch of people from completely different backgrounds who I would have probably never met anywhere else.
When are you going back? Did you get to enjoy OFF and meeting all these people?
Yeah,
in the next days?
Of course. I'm staying in Europe for a little bit after. Might as well. Already on the continent. How about you? Are you staying here for a bit?
I am leaving tomorrow, actually. There are some strikes on flights, so the team's going to fly back straight to Germany and try and make it. Yeah, totally. But yeah, it's almost like you have to lie down and take it all in, like after 3 really packed days.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like enjoying the quietness, although I love people and like chatting to everyone. So that's been great. But yeah, I want to share your Instagram. We'll try and get that up on screen share so everyone can see what you do as a photographer. Like, maybe let's go back to the beginning in terms of like how you got into photography and like how this all started.
Absolutely. So I started out on Instagram in 2016, which was very much prime time Instagram algorithm. It was, I always say organic, and it's social media, so it can't really, but it was like the most organic that it's been in my opinion. It was such a great place to be. The Explore page was doing absolute wonders, and it kind of blew up pretty much overnight. Yeah. And I started out as a huge content consumer in the first place. I was such a Tumblr girl.
Yep.
That was like my favorite after-school activity, just spending hours collecting photos and putting them in order. So I started out as a consumer, and then after that I kind of wanted to make my own, I say like mood board language type of imagery.
Yep.
And that's really how it started, was getting super heavily inspired by other creators, other photographers, and after a while just kind of started to make it my own and find my own voice and vision.
Yep.
So that, it was 2016. I was studying to be an elementary school teacher.
No way. Okay, so how did like photography, did you ever finish the like studying or like wait for the teacher?
I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, other direction, great. I love, that's most of the creative stories that you hear, like you stumble on it and you're like, okay, I'm gonna pick that up. It seems like I have a talent for this, or.
And for me, I think I was very conservative when I thought about a profession and a career.
Okay.
I was very reassured by the 9-to-5 life that I was planning for myself. But at the same time, I didn't really like the program that I was in, but I knew I would be happy as a teacher. I love working with children. I had been like a camp counselor forever. So I knew the outcome would be nice, but I was kind of struggling a little bit in the process of getting there. And so I was doing photography as a really just way to spend time and just have a creative outlet. And I was working full time at the same time. So there was a lot happening at once. And then when it started getting traction online, it was super lovely, but at the same time I was like, okay, I need to quit one of these things, and obviously work wasn't an option, so I was like, let me take a semester break from school, see where it goes, keep my day job. I was working in retail, that semester, I don't know how many semesters ago that was.
Yeah. How do you deal with it now, like being more on like the freelance side and like not having that 9 to 5 and just also like putting aside, like I wanted to ask you about like your personal projects and what you actually do for like, working with clients, for example. Like how do you set that time, and do you still feel like super creative with exploring things and testing things?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough balance to find, and I often find myself leaning towards one or the other, and then that's kind of like when I know I need to readjust.
Yep.
Like recently, this winter, I did a lot of commissions, and I love commissions so much. I think they're great creative assignments. They just exercise the creative muscle in a different way.
Yep.
A lot of clients are like, oh, we don't want to step on your toes, but I actually like having...
You're like, step on my toes.
Yeah, step ahead.
Do it.
Let's go. But yeah, it's been super interesting to just work with different briefs. I really like to find a way where I can make work that will not only elevate myself, but the client's product.
Yep.
And in a way that's like genuine in advertising, which is, I don't know, I think it's hard to do, but to get back to your question, in this winter I did a lot of commissions, and I was kind of craving that personal work time, so I'm kind of stepping back into it at the moment, and it feels really amazing.
That's cool.
And it's really just nice to like get the feeling of missing doing either personal work or commission work, so you get back to it with a different
energized
mindset.
Yeah. How like, let's go back to how did you actually get your first commission? Like when did you realize that this could actually be like a job for you and like a direction?
It took a minute, and I think in 2016 Instagram wasn't really viable for a job, for a full-time job. Influencers weren't even really a thing. It was kind of all very new. So for me, I just kept on doing my thing, and I told you I was working in retail. I was working at this luxury consignment store, secondhand, like vintage designer brand clothing, which I knew nothing about before working there, but I was getting super inspired by like this logo mania. A lot of my early work featured a lot of like brand logos, kind of poking fun and just finding fun ways
playing with it. Yeah,
exactly. So one of my first commissions was actually, and it wasn't even a commission, but it turned into one years later. But I put out this like set of braces with the Nike logo.
Yep.
And
I've seen that one. I think
yeah,
I remember.
that had a little moment back then.
Yeah.
And Nike saw it and they reached out, and I was like, oh, cease and desist. But no,
you didn't get into trouble for it.
No, I got lucky. They actually wanted to print it on T-shirts. So it was like the best thing that could have happened to that photo.
Yeah. And also those brands that actually approach you are kind of, I think, brave to do that and be like, hey, like instead of, as you said, get in trouble for it or make you like, you know, get you into trouble for it. They're like, hey, let's work together.
Super
like
sweet,
that's a complete different approach.
Absolutely.
Yeah, super cool. Let's show a bit of your work, like scroll through Instagram and go through it.
So now where am I? Is that 2020? Yeah, so this is pandemic. Was doing a lot of stuff at home, all of that. Gray backgrounds were my old apartment. I didn't have a studio at the time, so it was...
And do you feel like you got better with your editing? Like, how did you learn to edit your work? Like, there's one thing which is like creating, I mean, the concept itself, and then going through the photography and getting gear and all of that, like, and then editing. Like, was it pretty simple at the beginning, or do you feel like it improved?
Oh, it for sure improved on all fronts.
Okay.
I think that's just like, comes with the territory, right? But also a lot of like my more recent work, they have barely any editing. Yeah. Whereas some of the earlier works had way more, and it was a lot more digitally altered. And whereas a lot of people would ask, like, is this photo montage? Yeah. Is this? But it's actually all real.
That's insane.
And that's like one of the parts that, because you mentioned all the like moving parts of the process. My favorite part is to find the solution to like finding the idea, and then how do we bring it to life in a way that's meaningful and that will elevate the concept, you know?
And how much of that do you feel sometimes is like just not working? Like there must be tons of ideas that you're just like, well, there's no way I'm going to put this together.
I wouldn't say tons, but there are a few that...
Just to feel real for most of us trying to do this.
yeah, for sure. But there are some that just don't translate through photography. And that just means to me that it will have its moment at a later time. Sometimes an idea that I tried 2 years back, I'll pick back up later on and it'll work that time. Or I'll have a really great commission project for that will be very compatible with that idea. Sometimes it's a matter of budget and resources where like I don't want to put all of this
investment into
one photo. So then sometimes it makes more sense with with a brand partner. So yeah.
Cool. Should we go through specific examples? Is there like one that?
So this.
I mean, firstly, like that must take forever. Like, how much time do you need?
That was very labor and time intensive. So this was made with over 1,000 little Scrabble tiles, which I then drilled and.
You're pretty crafty. Like you must have learned so much through this.
I really love that stuff where I can just like sit down for hours, have like a podcast in the background, and just like tunnel vision on one thing.
And it almost feels like actually shooting that, it takes like so little time compared to actually creating
50 minutes.
Okay.
And then, whereas something, let me show you like an example of something that was like much quicker. Like this is a good one, or, well, that actually is like really, really simple. Like put a magazine inside of a laptop and call it a day. And then the editing for that was just cleaning up the edges, and that's it. You know, that was like a 3-hour project start to finish, you know, whereas...
And on one of those days, you're like, great, winning. I got like...
Exactly. Whereas this was like 2 weeks full time almost. So it varies, and everything just has to adapt to the idea at the end of the day. So
we have people in the chat that I'm checking at the same time. A lot of people did think it was Photoshop, which is super interesting. Like you must get this all the time. That would take a lot of time to edit too. Like if you were actually building that out, like compositing. Like,
I mean, it's a compliment. Means that it's working, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And how do you like get these ideas? Because you just talked about it. Like you have like a bank of ideas that you just left to the side and pick up again. Like I know, like in a couple interviews, you were saying like there's times you just have to sit down and think about it, and there are times where it's like maybe just studying what's around you and like getting an idea by surprise.
Yeah, so it's two different rhythms. I feel like when I have more headspace and more time for just like letting my mind wander, then that's kind of where it comes. Sometimes it comes through dreams. A lot of the times like super early morning where it's like in between sleep and being awake. But that's like maybe 5%. I love those times. It's very special, but it's also something that you can't force. And like 95% of the time, it's me sitting down at a table with a notebook being like, what objects am I into these days? And kind of working around that as themes.
Super cool.
Let's see.
And when you go through this process, is it like, do you have Instagram in mind? Like, I guess Instagram is a huge platform for you, but like, are you producing for Instagram most of the time, or?
I'm not. I mean, the format is, of course, like mostly square, so I have that consideration in mind. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Just getting your mics. We have more questions in the chat, so I'll pick these up. In the meantime, I'm going to say hi to Sean, Fergie, who's joining, Tim. We have Paco, of course, who's backstage.
Thank you so much.
Do say hi. I'll pick up one of the questions, but let you finish first on your process for ideas. You were just talking about, the notebook.
There's some physical spaces as well that I find super inspiring, like grocery stores, candy shops, just like big department stores that sell a bit of everything. I like to go there with a notepad and be like, ooh, this is...
Like a little chaotic, and you're like, I'll pick something up. And then I think that's a similar question we've just been asked, but Fergie was asking, what do you do with all these creations when the project is done? if it wasn't a commission?
Yeah, super great question. I have a studio now in Montreal
Yep.
that serves a little bit as a prop house as well. So when it's not food-based or ephemeral in that way, I keep the pieces just in storage. Sometimes they get picked up by magazines when they're wearable.
Yep.
You know, as like stylist pulls, they incorporate it in editorial shoots, which is, I always love when they can have a life after the photo.
Totally, yeah.
And then I have such a deep connections with objects that I just like seeing them.
You're like the perfect hoarder, but you like in a creative way.
Yeah.
I would love to be in that studio. It's like you're recreating a shop for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you reuse some of the objects as well? Or
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of like the clothing, the background props that sometimes help give context. I keep it all, and then a lot of the times I find that like, oh, I need this little candle holder from 3 years ago, and just go and pick it up.
And when you involve people, is that sometimes you, or do you work with people you know for like those photos?
Oh, the modeling?
Yeah.
You mean? It's all it's like pretty much all of it is self-portraits.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
When there's a model, like a human body, it's me, but as you can see, it's like I try to be very like faceless.
Yeah.
I like.
I was going to ask you about like showing the face.
No, I like the anonymity of it. You know, just like dismembered body parts sounds super like dark, which it's not at all. But you know. So it's mostly self-portraits.
Yeah. And how do you feel about Instagram and like the changes? You talked about like 2016, and obviously it's changed a lot. Like, how is the platform for you now working? And have you tested other platforms, or is it just for you like an outlet?
Honestly, like Instagram these days is it's fine. It's fine. I've stopped like trying to figure it out. You know, like sometimes something will do super well, which I thought would have done really bad, and then the other way around as well. So it's kind of just it creates a kind of detachment from the work. Where it's just like once it's online, people will do whatever they want with it. They'll decide like if it gets picked up, if it becomes viral or whatever, and then. Of course, like I have my personal favorites, which aren't always aligned with like internet favorites. So it's just interesting. I think I try to see it like very matter of fact and just kind of let it do its thing.
I think a lot of people and creatives in general get affected by that, like the sharing and the feedback and kind of waiting on like, okay, so people didn't like that. Should I serve like what audiences are expecting, or do I just kind of carry on doing? And you seem to be dealing with it pretty well, like mentally.
I mean, it took a while. I've been on social media for a long time, so I think that also came with the territory. I was definitely like it felt more personal in the beginning. Which is probably a good thing. I'm not sure if it's good that I'm so detached.
I think it is.
But when TikTok first came around, I was like, oh, maybe let's give this a try. But then I don't think it's really a format that is super compatible with my work. I think it's great for a lot of other people, but for me, it's not really what I want to do. So in terms of like other platforms,
you're like, okay, I'm out. Then I also wanted, just to get a sense of like how you get inspired now. Like you talked back in the day, you were like a Tumblr girl. Like that's how you get your ideas. Or you worked in a fashion store. Like that's how you get, you were inspired. Like how does it work today beyond the notebook in terms of like places where you can collect ideas, or even the fashion industry, right? Like out there, is that inspiring for you? How do you keep up with any trends?
For sure. I mean, So I always say that there's 3 main themes in my work. It's food, tech, and fashion. And I like to work at the intersections of those themes. So like I like to make them overlap, make like a tech item like fashion, or an edible item fashion, and so on. So
I don't even know how you made that egg one that we just saw.
That's crazy. The egg one was so fun. I did this like outline in this kind of, like homemade Play-Doh that we would make with salt. So I made this outline, and then I baked it.
Okay.
And then I poured the eggs, like
Making a mold.
exactly,
Like, yeah.
making an edible mold, and then I just kind of like,
I
and
love it.
I was actually lying down for this because there's no way, like gravity doesn't work that way.
Makes complete
you know?
sense. Yeah, yeah.
So I was like wearing a push-up bra to kind of give the effect of
Yeah.
like being standing.
Yeah.
And I was actually laying down.
That's amazing. Crazy.
So yeah, in terms of inspiration, you can see clearly that like obviously this is summer stuff. So it kind of adapts to the seasons.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that in the winter it's very much like more interior things. Let me go. Like this is all winter. You can kind of see that. And then we're back to spring. Beginning of summer, seasonal foods, very summer. That's all summer right there.
Love it.
So I like to be inspired by everything current for me at the moment. So it's very much a
relevant
visual journal of whatever I'm into and whatever I'm looking at.
Totally. Let's bring it back to OFF. I mean, you've showed a fair bit of your work. I'm sure everyone will like be able to follow on Instagram and take a look if you don't know about Gab. What are you doing at OFF then? We have a few minutes. Like, what is your talk going to be about? You're on the last day, so you have to be on tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very excited for it. So for my talk, I try to section it in two parts. One of them being more personal and one of them being more about the work. So I like to give a little bit of background because then the work makes more sense. So going into like childhood, process, inspirations, and then kind of going into commissions and projects, what's next, and so on. So that's kind of how I structured it, mixed in with a lot of anecdotes.
Stories.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's good. Nice. Well, good luck for your talk.
Thank
We're
you
just
so
wrapping
much.
up now, but thanks for sharing your work. It's been amazing chatting to you. So.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
And we'll be right back in 5 minutes with Framestore, who's been like walking around waiting for this session. So we'll be right back. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Oh.